Yeah, right into it, my boy. So DeMarcus Cousins is not interested in claiming Nikola Jokic winning his third MVP in a row. This would be because it would mean he would be considered one of the greatest centers of all times. In turn, it has sparked a debate that may not have been previously a debate before. So, Six, how you feeling about Jokic already being entered into the GOAT center conversation at this stage in his career?
Now, there's one thing I want to say about Nikola Jokic. He's not a freak of nature.
Mm-hmm.
He isn't a muscular type of dude, and most people would probably say that he looks out of shape on the court because he kind of do. Honestly,
Mm-hmm.
his game is kind of unorthodox a little bit if you
Yep.
think about it. But he plays at his own pace. He dictates the flow of the offense. He makes the other team that he's playing against kind of go to his flow of how he's going to play the game and how he's going to run the Denver offense. Right
Right.
now, his averages are amazing. 25 points a game, 11 rebounds a game, 10. He averaged a triple double this year while shooting 64% from the field, 38% from the three, 80% for 80+% from the free throw line. Like his splits are great. But I'm with DeMarcus Cousins on this because it's like there's so many great centers out there that I would take above Jokic. And the only reason why this is becoming a conversation anyways, because he would be one of four players in NBA history to win 3 MVPs in a row. You got to
Mm-hmm.
think about Larry Legend and Wilt the Stilt and guys like
Larry
that.
Bird.
Larry Bird. The reason why he said that like that is because a lot of our friends, a lot of my in each of our circles, don't think Larry Legend is a legend. So it's kind of
Larry was
crazy when
that.
people say that.
Yeah.
But he was that dude when he was playing. And also Bill Russell also won 3 back-to-back MVPs as
Mm-hmm.
well. So there's 2 centers in that conversation as 3-peat MVPs that I believe is better than Nikola Jokic with Bill Russell and Wilt the Stilt. Wilt the Stilt
Mm-hmm.
being probably one of the greatest athletes of all time. You know what I'm saying?
100%. I agree with that.
So, and then I would also take Shaq. I would also take Moses Malone. It's so many different.
Moses?
I would take Moses. I would take
Okay.
Kareem. I would take
Yeah.
Hakeem the Dream. I would take the
Yeah.
Admiral. I would take so many different. You see what I'm saying?
Okay.
I would take so many different centers. And in my research, I was looking up a bunch of different things, like as far as where ESPN, Bleacher Report, a couple of different avenues where they would rank these centers.
Mm-hmm.
And the one that I saw that was most recent was one from sports. It's a website called Sportster that
Mm-hmm.
had the top 10 centers of all time, and they had Jokic at number 10. So there's a lot of people in a lot of podcasts, a lot of sportscasters, a lot of websites that don't even have him in the top 5, let alone the top 3. But they had Artis Gilmore, Patrick Ewing, Moses Malone, Hakeem, Bill Russell, Shaq, Kareem, Wilt, like all of these people that they think is better than them. That I agree with that. Like all
Mm-hmm.
of those players that I just named are definitely better than Nikola Jokic. But it's just, but you can also go back in generations and what years they played in. Some people think the 60s was Wilt playing against plumbers and electricians. Like it's a lot of different conversations that you can have, but he not better than Wilt, bro. What you think? D-Lo?
I mean, it's an interesting conversation. However, I don't think it should have been a conversation at all. It should not be a debate. I agree with you on a handful of the individuals that you mentioned.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely uh, Wilt, Kareem. First off, I should say Kareem first. So
Yeah.
Kareem, Wilt, Shaq, The Dream, Hakeem Olajuwon. I think those individuals are head and shoulders above him. And the reason I say that is because when you talk about player greatness, it's a delicate balance between individual accolades and statistics and team accolades and statistics. While he does have 2 MVPs as of right now, he's in the ballpark when it comes to points, boards, assists, and all that stuff, and block. Well, not really blocks,
Not
but
really blocks because
assists.
he's not that
He
big on
he's
defense. Yeah.
Yeah, he's up there. He's above everybody in assists, but boards and points, he's in the ballpark with everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
He has that. they haven't been to a they haven't even been to the finals yet. He does
Nope.
not have he does not have a ring. So, to me, with the delicate balance that you have to have in being considered one of the greatest of the game, one of the giants in this conversation of the game, I don't think it should be a conversation. Um,
Thank you for watching this video. If you've made it this far, please go ahead and subscribe to the channel, hit that like button, and hit the notification bell so you miss none of the content. Also, you can find us on all your streaming platforms wherever you find your podcast.
but we're still relatively early in his career, if he is to have a long career. I think, we always bring LeBron in the conversation. I think the reason that you can have those conversations about LeBron being one of the greatest of all time, he's in year 20 of his career. He has multiple championships. He has multiple MVPs. He's a Finals MVP multiple times. He's Rookie of the Year. I think the only thing he's missing is Defensive Player of the Year, which he probably should have won. That's another thing.
In Miami.
Jokic doesn't have Rookie of the Year, when the majority of the individuals that I mentioned, the Shaqs, the Wilts, the Kareems, they won Rookie of the Year. And then in the case of Kareem, I'm sorry, Hakeem, he won Defensive Player of the Year. Jokic has not won Defensive Player of the Year. So it's a lot of things that accumulate together to make one be considered the greatest. And again, while it's great conversation, I believe, I don't think this should have been a conversation, but I understand why it was sparked. Like you mentioned, he would be one of three or four individuals that have won back-to-back MVPs. And just that alone makes people wonder, are you the greatest of all time? And in this case, are you the greatest center of all time? I'm gonna say no.
I'm going to say no too. And it's like, we're sparking this conversation about Jokic being the greatest center of all time. And like you said, we always find a way to get LeBron into the conversation, into the podcast, because that's our boy. You know what I'm saying?
Right.
As you can see, that's our boy. But
Right.
you, if that's the case, if we're sparking this conversation for Jokic being the greatest center of all time, why is there so much pushback on LeBron being the all-time GOAT? Because he's done so much more in such a long career, longer than Jordan's. He hit more points, more playoff points, more assists, rebounds, all of that. As far as statistically, individually, and team wise, he might not have as many rings, but he's been to 10 finals in a row and looking to go to another one this year. So it's like, if we can say this about Jokic, we got to be able to say this about LeBron. And there's no way that. Go ahead.
I was going to say, I think the conversation is a bit different, though, because in this sense of Jokic, we're talking about best center of all time,
Best
whereas with
individual,
LeBron, we're
individual
talking
position.
about best player
of
of all
all time.
time. And, it's a lot of nostalgia when it comes to Michael Jordan.
It is 100%. And I can understand it.
While LeBron has had a great career, and usually in most cases, I would say LeBron is probably the GOAT. Again, we've had this conversation before. My dad would kill me if I said LeBron James was better. I mean, literally kill me if
I
I
know,
said
Pops. He
LeBron
definitely
James
would.
was better than Michael Jordan. And
Yeah.
we grew up watching the tail end of Michael Jordan's career, and the things he was doing, he was ahead of his time when it came to
Indeed.
being an NBA player, being the great of the game. So, and he changed the game. And LeBron's changed the game too. He does have all those accolades, but the thing that stains LeBron's career, and I don't know why we go to team accolades when we're talking about staining
Individuals.
LeBron's, but he's what 4-6
4-6
in finals, whereas Jordan is 6-0. Jordan has won championships, three-peats twice. LeBron has not done that. He's only won a back-to-back once. So, and everybody's going to say he skips from team to team to team.
Yeah.
I mean, we're in a whole new era of basketball. If Michael Jordan could have skipped from team to team to team, he definitely would have. This era that we're in, as far as players having control of what they want to do, is relatively new. And as of like what 2010s, I think LeBron was the one that set that up.
Hmm.
But I mean, it was a part of the collective bargaining agreement.
For
But
sure.
that's all it is. And I didn't mean to cut you off and get long
Nah,
winded
you
with my
good.
answer, but it's
Nah, you good.
that's what that's the missing piece there, or that's the reason we can talk about Jokic being a great and try to negate LeBron is because we're talking about Jokic as being the greatest center of all time. Now that
Hmm.
he's potentially going to get his third MVP in a row,
Yeah.
and we're talking about LeBron being the greatest of all time, and people just don't want to let go that Michael Jordan still hadn't played in 20 plus year 20 years, and his shoe's still number one shoe in the world, and
Man,
he won 6 rings with no losses, and he's up to what, top 5 in all-time scoring. People don't want to let that go. I mean, Michael Jordan really, he was an amazing player. He is the standard, I guess.
hmm
Everybody talk about Mamba mentality. Well, Mamba mentality came from Jordan
came
mentality.
from Air Jordan. Exactly.
So he's the standard when it comes to
The GOAT
what we look for
conversation.
in an athlete nowadays.
For sure, for sure. And to get back to Jokic, what I think the argument for him as far as Jokic is, of course, this sparked off of the possible three-peat as far as MVP, but he does have some really good three-level dominance on offense.
Hmm.
We already talked about he's not that effective on defense, which that's kind of subjective because it's a team sport. You know what I'm saying? And he
Right.
does play a lot of help defense. He's pretty good on help defense, but he can score in the post with the best of them. He can shoot the midi as well as anybody, and he can also shoot the three at a good clip. He
And he
rebounds
can
with the
pass like a
best.
point guard.
He can pass like I was about to get to that too. He rebounds with the best centers in the league, and he's averaging a triple double because he orchestrates his offense and he passes like DeLon said, like a point guard. But again, he's not. A lot of it. A lot of people will say that he's not the GOAT because he's just not physically dominant. He's not fast. He's not agile. He don't have the body type. He's not built like the Admiral. He's not quick like Embiid. You know what I'm saying? He's not. You know what I'm saying? But it's like one of those things where he controls the game so well that the other team has to adjust to him, and that's
Yeah.
which within that is a form of dominance within itself. But you when you look at the other players that were ahead of him, we already listed a few of them. Like Hakeem was as agile and his handles was crazy, and his dream shake is something that is so that is so mind blowing to a lot of younger people that look at basketball. Was like, dang, he out there as a center, a 7 foot center, shimmying and up and unders, and you know what I'm saying, like going crazy
Mhm.
in the post. But he was also great on defense. He led the league in blocks multiple years in the NBA.
Right.
So and Wilt the Stilt just dominated everybody when he played. And then Shaq is arguably the most dominant player in NBA history. So how
Mhm.
can you put Jokic ahead of those people? But it's like I can't do it myself. I don't think
I,
he's the greatest of all time. I don't think he will ever be the
yeah.
greatest of all time. But he's only in his eighth season. Hopefully he can
Mhm.
play 10, 12 more years like LeBron has done. But
Mhm.
I guess we just gonna have to see. But I mean, I don't think he's the GOAT center of all time at all.
Yeah, I don't think he's the GOAT center of all time, but also he's playing in an era where it's no longer centered around, no pun intended, the center, right?
Mm-hmm.
The basketball that we're talking about with the greats that we know as a center, the ball was dumped into them. They went to work. If they got double teamed, they kick it back out for a mid
Mm-hmm.
range shot, not a 3 point shot. Now the game
Right.
has evolved more outside in, where the first shot is outside, and then you dump it down if that shot is wide open. And so Jokic, like you said, he's a good 3 level player, but he is boring because he's kind of like, even though he can shoot, he's not that athletic. Where the NBA is really athletic nowadays. A lot
Mm-hmm.
of the players, I'd say 87%, that's an odd number, but 87% play above the rim. He's
Mm-hmm.
not one of those people.
Right.
But I mean, you can put him in the same conversation, but I think you could put him in the same conversation as Luka Doncic. Although I think Luka Doncic is way more exciting
Way more
than
exciting.
Nikola Jokic, but Luka Doncic is also basically a point forward. And
Mm-hmm.
even though he's really a point guard, that's his true position. But he
Mm-hmm.
has the height and the build of a forward, but he handles the ball as a point guard. But long story short, no, I don't think Nikola Jokic is a center. You know, not to say that he can't become one of the great all-time centers, but based off of the information that we have available to us right now, as far as his individual stats and as far as his team accolades, again, they haven't even been to the finals yet. They may go this year, but he hasn't won a ring. I can't say that he is. I can't say he's even in. I can't say he's even in the top five, and
Nah.
therefore this conversation should have never been a conversation, in my opinion.
Yeah, it shouldn't have. I mean, but when you're talking about somebody possibly win their third straight MVP, which, like I said, only three other people have done it. LeBron
Right.
hadn't done it. Jordan
Right.
hadn't done it. You know what I'm saying? Hakeem didn't do it. So when you talk about when you got somebody that's possibly about to win their third straight, those conversations are gonna arise. But nah, he ain't the GOAT,
Yeah.
bro. He
Right.
ain't the GOAT, bro.